Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by Paul Krieger.
Hey, everybody.
Amy Krieger.
Hello.
Marissa Valaton.
Hello, hello.
And our producer this week, Mr. John Sicari, also known as Big Fat Panda.
How are you guys?
Just a reminder, this show, along with all of our DVC content, brought to you by the world of DVC, which includes DVCResaleMarket.com, where you can buy a DVC resale contract for much less than you're going to pay if you go through Disney directly. DVCRentalStore.com, where you can rent those points out, or if you'd like to rent points to try before you buy DVC, or just save money on your next Disney hotel stay. DVCRentalStore.com. And, of course, my favorite one to talk about, the crack dealer of the DVC world, MoneraFinancial.com, where you can finance your DVC resale purchase. And they make it very easy. They make it very easy for you to do that. Okay, so this is part two of our news show from last week, because we spent so much time on the villas at Disneyland Hotel and the cabins at Fort Wilderness. But there's more stories to talk about. So let's talk about annual passes returning for DVC members, which was by no means a given, because I was starting to think they may stop annual pass sales completely. So I was happy when they brought these back. And, you know, no big surprises with this. It's the Sorcerer Pass.
Yep, Sorcerer Pass was the one that historically was offered. It was, if people are familiar with the old annual pass system, it was the DVC Gold Pass, and it is available to both, or was available to both DVC members and Florida residents. But sales to both Florida residents and DVC members were paused, as were most annual passes, for a period of time. So that's really the money pass, where, like, unless you're coming for those specific weeks over, like, it's like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and
Nope, that's it. Thanksgiving week and like 2 weeks over Christmas are the only blockouts now.
Yeah. So unless you're coming outside of if you're coming any other time outside of those dates, the Sorcerer Pass is the one that really pays off for you, and it's the one that has historically provided the best benefit to DVC members that are buying direct.
And what are those going for? Do we know what the price on those was?
I don't remember what the return pricing was off the top of my head. We just renewed too. I want to say it's like between like $700 to $800.
Something. I think maybe like $790 or something.
Okay. Yeah. And previously there was like a DVC discount that was baked into the cost as well. That's no more. So there's no actual discount other than the discount that you're getting in being able to purchase that annual pass. But still, like, we've talked about this for years. It was one of the main reasons why you would want to buy direct for a long period of time, was access to purchasing these annual passes. And without them, that was kind of, you know, those went away sometime during the pandemic, and, you know, just have not shown coming back ever since. And we've said for quite some time, without that benefit, that's a significant benefit to buying direct.
Yeah.
Right there. And so
So the cost of the Sorcerer's Pass new is $969 plus
way off.
tax. That's not the renewal rate. That's the new rate.
Yeah.
And then if you want to add the water parks, that's $99. If you want to add Photo Pass, that's $99.
And part of me has to think that this was all this partially stemmed from DVC going to the ticketing department saying, every day we get 400 emails from members about wanting annual passes. We've got to do something. You know, obviously we saw annual passes come back as a whole, but it was great that not only did they bring back the annual passes, but they brought them back in advance specifically for the DVC members. So about a week, I think it was, before annual pass sales resumed for anyone, they were available to DVC members. that wanted to purchase.
Of course, when these were first made available, the site was crashing constantly. People reporting ridiculous experiences trying to get on the site to purchase them. People were calling member services and were on hold for 100 years, trying to make these things happen. I'm assuming that's calmed down now.
Yeah, I think it was just like the first 24 hours, but there were reports of people waiting on hold for like 6 hours, 8 hours.
And you can't blame them. Like, people were scared that they were going to sell out.
Yeah.
And Disney even put something up on the website that said in the queue while you were waiting, that said some passes may not be available. Being in the queue doesn't guarantee
that you're going to get what you
want.
want.
Yeah, and so that scared people. So they waited hours and hours and hours. They did not sell out, right? They're still selling everything. So,
Still available.
Yeah, so if you had waited. But if Paul and I were in this situation, we had talked about it, we would be doing the same thing, right? We would not want to miss that opportunity, especially after, like we have friends that have gone a couple years now without annual passes, having to pay those park ticket every single time that they come. And so, a lot of people have been waiting a long time for this.
And DVC members have been choosing to go other places as well. People have been choosing to explore Universal or look at other things around the resort and around the area, or, just stay at the hotel and enjoy all of the amenities of the DVC property. A lot of people have existed that have done that just because they've been unable to get an annual pass, and that was really a big selling factor for them coming to Disney World year after year after year. So just a great benefit now that it's back, and I think that it's good to see a lot of these special member events, Moonlight Magic, annual passes, all these smaller events that they're doing now. A lot of that magic is coming back into being a DVC member, which is cool.
Yeah. And the other big announcement was the member cruises for 2024, 2 of them. One going to Europe.
Yep.
In Europe. Be a 7-night Mediterranean trip. Departs out of Barcelona. Goes to Naples, Rome, Florence, Monte Carlo in France, before returning back to, you get a couple sea days in there, and then it returns back to Barcelona. Now these cruises, these member cruises, are considered a membership extra, so they are only available to members who have purchased direct with Disney. You cannot use resale points for this. Do we know have they released the point charts on these?
Point charts were released. Actually, these are already on sale as of recording this episode, and I believe that availability is pretty slim for both, or at least specifically the European cruise at this point in time. But the point charts were not unreasonable, but also significantly high, as we would expect. Now, these are 2 different cruises that fall under different categories for DVC. So the member cruise, the official member cruise with, the perks of, special things in your stateroom, special onboard events and stuff like that are specific to DVC, that's going to be the European sailing. And that sailing can be booked either via cash or a combination of cash and points. So similar to what we did, we're on the 2023 member cruise.
Yeah, I did cash for mine, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we did cash for those, and that's the smart way to go because the point cost for these is significantly
It's
inflated.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And just looking here, veranda, a deluxe ocean view veranda stateroom, category 6A, was around $3,089 a person, so $6,200-ish. For that cruise, for the 2024 member cruise. Probably, I don't know. I would say that's anywhere from like 20 to 30% inflated versus what you would pay if you were on like a regular sailing. But you are getting some added perks that are special to being a Disney Vacation Club member. Not saying it's $2,000 worth of perks, but kind of a cool add-on to that experience. The Lighthouse Point sailing is a little bit different. So this is similar to what they did with the Disney Wish when they had basically the DVC inaugural cruise for the Disney Wish.
Right, which was not a member cruise, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Correct. So essentially, that was a full buyout of the ship by DVC. So they basically said, we want to offer this to our membership. We're going to essentially buy this ship as Disney Vacation Club, and then we're going to require members to use their points to pay for this sailing. And that remains to be the case with this sailing. I believe at least one member has to purchase with points on this specific type of
Per
sailing.
stateroom.
Per stateroom.
Okay, so one person in that room has to book on points. The rest can do cash.
Exactly. And that's them just making sure they secure some points,
Yeah.
pull those things into, the exchange program. Then they can essentially rent the points and make a bunch of money off of
Right,
it. So
exactly.
I would love to see the bottom line of what DVC makes off of these inaugural cruises or these specialty cruises. But, this is one of the, I think it is similar to what they did with the Wish. It's like the second sailing that's going to go to Lighthouse Point. It's doing that trip to both Lighthouse Point and Castaway as well. So those are some unique sailings and some of the most high demand sailings for the summer 2024 season.
But the benefit of the Lighthouse Point cruise for the members is that you're like some of the earliest to get there. It's not a member cruise where you get the special guests and all the swag and stuff like that. Like you don't get any of that. Like you would on the member cruise that's sailing to Europe. But yeah, I think that we looked right and only inside rooms were left on that one. So it wasn't unpopular.
Yeah, inside rooms, I think last I checked there were a couple verandas, but again, the cost here, this one doesn't make as much sense to me cost-wise unless you really want to be on like one of those first sailings out to Lighthouse Point. But the cost here, so looking at, I think it was like 6A that I compared for the other cruise, Deluxe Ocean View Stateroom. This is a 5-night cruise, but you're going to be paying 329 points. That's non-negotiable. So that's the first person you're paying 329 points for. For the second person or anyone else in that stateroom, it's going to be 329 additional points for each person or $2,800.
Yeah, and if you take that, what was the point you said?
328.
328, and you value those points at even just $12 a point, that's $3,948. So you can see the difference between point value and cash value.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's where, like, if you're going to do that one's tough to your point because you have to use points. But, like, if you're going to go on the European member cruise, go pay cash.
Yeah.
Write your points. Have Paul help you with that.
Yeah.
Write your points out, get that cash, and then just book it on a cash pay.
Yeah.
You're saving almost 50% doing it that way.
And the other thing that, it might be worth doing a DVC or Disney Exchange Program show just to get people to understand what that looks like. But the other thing that we saw happen a lot, especially with the Wish cruise, because the Wish cruise ended up getting delayed because they were having delays with the ship and everything like that, and that made a lot of people think about canceling. The problem with the exchange program is once you exchange your points into this system, you ain't getting them back.
Yeah.
So they are stuck in the exchange program, which means you can only use them at non-Disney Vacation Club properties. So if you really want to stay at All-Star Sports with those points now, you can use them there. Or using them at on a Disney cruise or Adventures by Disney or something like that. All of which have a very low value in terms of how those points are used.
Right. And we've said it on shows many, many times. Using your points on cruises and ABDs is a terrible, terrible waste of your points because, as Marissa pointed out, you can go ahead and rent those points, get cash for them, and just pay the cash price, which is a lot more reasonable when you compare them to spending your points.
Yeah. The other thing is that those points for that particular cruise, in order to qualify, have to be direct points in order to use them, or the grandfathered in resale points from, way back, whatever the year is that changed.
When did that change?
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I think, right before we started this show.
Yeah.
Have we been doing this show 7 years?
4.
No,
It would be
wait. The
5 now.
the
It was
collections was
2018.
2011. 2016 was the perks.
The first perks
And then
jump.
2019 was the change in.
Resale restrictions.
Okay, 2019.
We're going back
yeah.
in the time.
I was going to say, I didn't think we'd been doing the show that
No,
long.
I had done the math a while ago, and next March, April timeframe would be 5 years of DVC fame.
Okay.
So, yeah. If it was 7 years, there was a time warp somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, it's,
But
I was stunned. I was stunned when I realized I'd been doing the Diz Unplugged for 16 years.
right, it's like you just blink and it happens. So, Panda, you booking a DVC cruise anytime soon?
Not a cruise, no. I like to be on a cruise where I feel like I know what's going on. If I'm with DVC members, they're all going to be as smart as me, and I don't want that. I want to, I don't want everybody to know when to go do things and everything.
I'm just excited for the special events and stuff like that they have. I know they bring on special entertainment. They've got special classes throughout the day and things that they do on the ship. And we've been talking about member cruises for so long that a 2023 cruise should be a fun one to try. My wife keeps begging to book the European 2024 one, but I don't know about that.
What's cool too is like the guests that they bring on from like the member cruises, they're all on the cruise with you, right? So they're cruising too. So it's not just like, oh, they do the stage show and you never see them like at Epcot or something.
Yep.
Like you're hanging out with them. Like I remember all the Broadway stars came on and then we were in the tube one night and we were all just dancing in the tube with all the Broadway stars. So it's just a fun overall like ambiance.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never done a member cruise. I'm on my first one this September. I've never done it before, and I've heard amazing things about them. Yeah. I've heard that they're incredible cruises, that DVC puts on a good show. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah.
Excited to do that.
Can't wait. Yep. I know the last news show we talked a lot about Disneyland Hotel and Fort Wilderness Cabins, but I wondered, just revisiting that real quick. We didn't really go around the room and say, like, would you buy points here? Why or why not?
Well, I keep getting asked that question because there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not I would buy at Disneyland Hotel, and the answer is no, I'm not buying. First of all, I have too many points as it is. I got to call Derek and unload some contracts. I have way too many points. But I just decided it didn't make sense for me. And so, no, I'm not buying it.
And you have a lot of points that you can use there that qualify to use there. So.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see the issues with Disneyland Tower as we would with the other properties, or like with Grand Cal. Availability issues. So, I think you're going to be able, at least for a period of time, going to be able to get in there within the 7-month window, as long as you're a little bit flexible on your travel dates and what you're looking for and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Fort Wilderness?
Maybe.
I
love the cabins. I'm a huge fan of the cabins.
Wow.
And I definitely fall into that category of DVC member that was really excited about that announcement. Yeah. But I said I'm torn on it because they are taking, it's another thing Disney is taking away from people that was, really, for a lot of folks, a very good value. And it just kind of fills in that narrative of they take things away, they charge more, and it just gets too expensive. And you're seeing that more and more with people being priced out of Disney World, and I think this just adds to that. So I really see both sides of that. Yep. What about you?
No.
No?
Only because if we go back to what we were assuming on our last show, which was that this might be a foray into moderates, I just need to start saving now for the number of points that Amy's going to want at Coronado Springs if that ever happens. We literally, that is our cash booking, resort of choice. So if there's a reason, we just recently did it. To get us into a Moonlight Magic event, we booked a cash booking on property one night, Coronado Springs, no questions asked. Like it was a no-brainer for us. We love getting up early, walking the resort and stuff like that. And the thing that we say every time we are there is that they could take the whole casitas section and just demo it.
Yeah.
And put another tower up right next to the current tower.
Cabanas, not casitas.
Cabanas?
Yeah.
Okay. Cabanas,
the beach
casitas,
area.
Whatever.
I've already planned it out for him. All you have to do is go to DVC Fans.
She's
look
got
at that article. I circled the map. Like it's not that hard.
one circle on a map, and that makes it a done deal.
I am excited at the prospect of, so some of the cabins are going to be dog friendly. Not that we would go like long term, like it would be like 1 to 2 night max because we couldn't even leave them. You know what I mean? But just to take them on Disney property to stay at a DVC cabin for like 2 nights. I don't know. Pete, would you bring your dogs?
You know, I had, because some of the Universal properties are pet friendly. And I remember my last dog before I had Abby and Dolly brought Max over there. And the minute I left the room, he was howling.
Oh, yeah. We couldn't leave the room ever.
He was howling. I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
And you're leaving?
Yeah.
And he was howling. So I ended up like having to just take him back home. So I've never had good experiences with that. They're okay when I leave them here. I don't know how they'd be
Somewhere else.
somewhere else.
Yeah. Unfamiliar.
Do we think that's going to be like its own booking category as well? Like, so like
Yeah.
It's own
Fort
point section?
Wilderness Cabin dog
Yeah,
dog
really.
Yeah.
category? I feel like it would have to be because, you know, they're going to limit the number of
Yeah.
cabins that are that category because, you know, not everyone is going to want dog fur all over their, you know, I feel bad for mousekeeping already, you know, in some of the circumstances that they're going to walk into.
They're dog
but-
friendly already.
Yeah.
So this isn't anything different than what they're
Used
already
to, yeah.
what they're already experiencing. But yeah, right. There would have to be a separate booking category because you know there has to be a separation there between people that have allergies and don't want a room that's had dogs in it previously and people that do. But yeah, to Pete's point, we could not leave them. Like it would be like 2 nights. We stay with them. We go to the dog park that's there. We go for walks. We get food to go. You know what I mean? That would have to be how it goes.
Now, this is something that's been speculated a lot about with Fort Wilderness is what do we think this means for Reflections or what was Reflections down the road?
Look, I've always felt that, you know, that land was already zoned. If these cabins do well, you might see that land used to expand the number of cabins available.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good.
So I think, you know, they already prepped the land for Reflections, already zoned it. So I think they'll start out with this. But if these sell well, if these do well,
Yep.
they're absolutely going to add more.
Yep.
They're absolutely going to add more, and they got that land right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. They've still got the construction fencing up around that property because they've still got stuff just sort of laying around that they didn't get to when it sort of got canceled. But you know, I say, you know, they're going to do the Fort Wilderness cabins. That's successful. They'll probably move somewhere else just to change the dynamic for, you know, a several year period of time. But then let's jump back here. You know, whether we add more cabins, whether we do some sort of tower similar to what we planned on doing in that area. They'll come back there eventually. They're not going to let that go to waste in terms of the money that they put into that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I like coming from California and wanting to do Disneyland more often. Like the towers were very like, oh, would I want to buy into there? I think if we were talking last year, I might consider it, and I might like have sold my Polynesian and turned around and bought Disneyland Tower. I know. But like my Polynesian I could have sold for like 180 per point last year.
Yeah.
Versus now, if you look as a buyer side, you can snag a Polynesian at 140s easily, right? And so you go, is it worth it at that point to do any sort of swap or look and say, hey, is it worth it to spend on something new with the resale prices currently? So I think that would be what would hold me off and maybe just look to add on more points. For the Fort Wilderness, to your point of dogs, like that's the first thing that I get excited about, and then I think about actually bringing my dogs.
Yeah.
Like, they would
I'm
hate
on
it.
Zoom calls with you already where your dog starts howling in the background.
Oh yeah, my poor Basset Hound.
Basset
Basset
Hound.
howling. But I think it will bring in. I just remember selling DVC, and so many guests would complain that there's just no pet option. And so I do think for those who have pets who can stay in the room alone, it will bring a whole new audience for them. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster of a month in terms of just DVC, and it's
Yeah, it
it's
really
fun
has
that
been.
we have exciting things to talk about.
Oh,
for once.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just it kind of underscores that DVC is still very vibrant. A lot of things happening. The business itself is doing well, apparently, and people very excited about the Poly Tower going up. People excited about the Disneyland Tower. Some people excited about the Fort Wilderness Cabins.
Some people.
But there, let's be fair. Even where the Polynesian Tower is concerned, there are still plenty of people who don't think it belongs there. Mm-hmm. That based on the artist renderings, that it's just not going to fit in with anything else that's at the Poly right now.
You start looking now; it's already taken over that whole skyline
Yeah.
on that section of the lake. So it'll be crazy, and they're going to have to theme it well and sell it well, just like everything else. So. But they're moving very quickly on that. And the real thing we don't know is what the timing's going to be on that compared to the cabins. Because now we've got both of them slated for 2024.
How many resorts can you sell at one time?
Yeah.
They're going to find out and set the record, I think.
Well, and it's being a mom of a 5-year-old, right? Like in parenting world, you give your kids like 2 choices in life and you go, choose this or this. Like when there's 5, then it's like, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
So now imagine selling DVC and you're like, here's your 7 options. And the guest is going to be like, I'm going to think about that.
I've said that before. I'm a terrible person at like Subway when I go through the line because they start pointing at things and I'm just like, I feel like peer pressure. So I'm like, yeah. And then I open this sub up and I'm like, oh my God, what did I make? But I think I've said this several times recently, in blogs and on DVC fan Facebook group and stuff like that. But it's just a very exciting time to be a DVC member again, and I think that's what's really motivating us. I think a lot of that has to do with leadership in terms of what's changed at the top all the way up to Iger. Giving the responsibility back to the leaders of these divisions and everything to make it the vision of what they want and make them responsible for that profit and stuff like that.
And I guess look, I've been very critical of DVC leadership, but you're right. These decisions are coming from the current DVC leadership, and as a member, I'm excited by them. So you're making good decisions.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to give credit where credit is due. That they are keeping it exciting. And they are keeping it relevant. They are growing it, which is just a benefit for us as members. Mm-hmm. I think, this slate of announcements that have been coming these last few months, really kind of underscore that. Yeah. So, yes, I'm saying something nice about DVC management.
I hope they're listening.
I hope they're listening. I'm sure they are. But yeah, I think this is all good stuff.
Yep.
This is all good stuff for DVC members. This is good stuff. So, all right, folks, that's going to do it for this week's episode of our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week with another episode of the DVC Show. Have a great week.